Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming to our continuing public meeting for our sports park and the design process of it. We're going to use the microphone tonight because we're streaming this meeting live, so people that were not able to make it are able to watch it, and they can email us their feedback and their comments. But we don't want to waste everybody's time, so again, thank you for being here. We'll go ahead and get started, and those of you who were here last time, we appreciate you coming back. We'll go ahead and just sort of recap what we did last time. First off, we have our designers, Lotion Associates, so we have Whit Alexander and Matthew Kramer here. And through our RFQ process, we went through and evaluated different design firms, and these guys are the ones that graded out the highest. So we've been very happy with the progress that they've made so far, and the information that they've taken from the community and from us and put it into a master plan. So the design, or the idea for the meeting tonight is to go over the master plan and just get your comments on it. We spent a lot of time designing this, designing that, taking this out, putting this in to try to meet the needs of the community. We've gone through the commissioners and gotten their feedback from it as well. So we'd ask you to give us your comments on it, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Whit, and we'll go from there. Thank you, Whit.
Okay. Very good. Appreciate it. Thanks. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give y'all, forgive me here while I go through and show you a few things, but just a little schedule of what we're going to do. Of course, Rick's already made the introductions. I'm going to tell y'all a little bit about our firm, who we are, what we do. We'll give y'all a little bit of an overview of the property. Some of this is going to sound familiar to the folks who were here last time, but some of you, there's a lot of new faces. So I'm going to show y'all a little bit about the property. I'm going to show y'all the master plan that we've come up with so far, the preliminary draft master plan. And I'm going to go through and explain those facilities a little bit for everybody, and then we'll take comments. And if you didn't already do it, please sign in. When on the way out, you can do that. And we've got comment cards. I mean, we're going to have a discussion on the master plan, but really what's more important to us is if y'all can write these things down and leave behind your comments, then it's more lasting, makes a lasting impression with us. So with that, I'm going to go through and just give you a little bit about who we are. We're an architecture, landscape architecture, and civil engineering firm that has offices in Nashville and Atlanta, and from those two places we work all over the Southeast doing this type of work. We've got right now a 12-field baseball complex under construction in Dothan, Alabama. We're starting some planning very similar to this over in Daphne, Alabama on the Bay. We have projects in Louisiana and Arkansas under construction that are baseball and soccer projects. So that's the kind of thing we do every day. It's that type of work. That gives you a little idea of all the places we worked around the Southeast. All those dots are not just parks, but those are communities where we developed parks, similar to what we're going to do for you guys. And besides our time when we're actually on the boards drawing parks, when we're not working on a park, we're also still invested in that theme. We're members of NRPA, so we're bringing in National Recreation and Park Association ideas from around the country to each one of our new facilities. There may be something neat we see in a park that we see in Kentucky that worked out really well. That becomes a new idea that we bring to a new client like you guys, something for Walton County. So we hope we bring the best ideas of all the places we work to each one of our new clients. A little bit about the site. The highway that you see there off to the left going up, that's 331. There's 98, the big yellow stripe going through the middle of the slide. And then the site there. Rick, what's the nearest cross street to give folks an idea of where that is?
Well, that's the Turkey Creek area, so it's about 2 miles east of the new middle school, Emerald Coast Middle School would be the best reference point, I think.
Okay. So it's not very far off you'll be able to access the property right off of Highway 98. A little bit more about it there. There's a future school site that's being developed along the frontage on 98. And then we have about a 34-acre triangular piece of property back behind it there. Right now it's mostly cleared off for us. We have a wetland in the corner we have to avoid. There's a nice big oak tree on the site that we want to save and incorporate in the design. But the good thing is it's pretty flat, pretty wide open, allows us to do a lot of things and put a lot of stuff in the park. And this is the preliminary master plan that's been developed so far. For folks that weren't here last time, came about, we went through a visioning process with the county. I know the county's been working on this for how long? How many months have y'all been working on a visioning process?
At least a year.
About a year, at least a year. Where there have been other public meetings where people have come out and given us ideas about what they wanted to see in the park. Of course, the county has they know what their demands are from overflow from some of their other parks that they have. And then we went through a prioritization process last time when we all met a couple of months ago to look at what facilities ought to be built first, given the budget that the county has. And so what we have there on the master plan is a 3-field baseball complex that you see, different sized fields for different age groups, but 275-foot fences, 300-foot fences to accommodate some pretty wide ranges of field to play. Little guys can play on those fields. We can do temporary outfield fences, and the bigger guys can still play to the bigger outfield fences there. Concession restroom building there with that, some batting cages, a little playground that's dedicated right at the baseball complex so that if you're in town playing here, your family's out there playing, little brother is on one of the fields playing right now, little sister, if she's not playing, she can go over on the playground right nearby. Everybody stays nice and close. The other thing that you see there at the top of the site are 3 full-size soccer, football, lacrosse fields. These are multi-use fields that can be used for different rectangular sports. All of that is one big turf area of grass. We're not going to have any light poles in between fields. We're going to light everything from around the outside of that. So that's one big area of grass that can be used for other things like county festival space. There's been the talk of we're going to have a concrete area at one end of that where the county can bring in the portable stages and have a concert out there and have a lot of people out on the grass for a big event. We're going to have a press box and concession stand and things like that to serve that soccer complex as well. In the middle of the site, you see a lot of parking. These things drive a lot of parking need. And then up in the upper right-hand corner of the site, where that really nice big oak tree is, there's a really nice big spreading live oak tree there. We're going to try to work that into the design, into a passive area. That would have a playground, an open lawn for just going out and throwing the frisbee or, picnicking, those kinds of things. Maybe a picnic shelter to go along with that, maybe a couple of picnic shelters. Nice little park, little passive area. We'll try to get some of that developed in the first phase, too. It kind of depends on how far the budget goes with how much the engineering of the site costs. There's some infrastructure issues out there. We have to bring water and sewer, and we have to move a lot of earth, and those things are expensive. So by the time we move all of the earth around and bring the utilities, those things start to eat into the budget. Our goal is going to be to try to do all the infrastructure for the whole property in the first phase, and then finish out some of these things that you see on the master plan. We're not sure exactly until we get a little bit deeper into the engineering of it, exactly what this stuff's going to cost. But we're going to try to get as much stuff that y'all see in this master plan developed in the first phase. But just know and expect that it won't all be there on the ribbon cutting. We're going to try to get as much of it as we can. The other little stuff that it's kind of hard to see on the plan, if you look off to the left, in the far corner on the left, you see some tennis courts. We've got 4 tennis courts planned there. We also have a couple of what's called pickleball courts that go along with that. We show some dedicated pickle courts. Whether that happens right now in the first phase or whether maybe that has to be shared with tennis in the first phase may be a budget-driven thing. But there is room, and we've isolated and left an area for that. So eventually it could be built. We've marked a spot for it. In the other area to the right of the 3 soccer fields, we've got a basketball court, an outdoor basketball court there, and an outdoor sand volleyball court to go along with that. And those would be served by the same restroom and pavilions and some of that would serve the passive play area. We have a maintenance compound. It's nothing for the public to use. It's the area where the mowers are kept and the equipment is stored and things like that. We have to find a spot for that. And we have a couple of detention basins. We have to take care of stormwater, so we have those things happening. And then we have a perimeter walking trail that goes all the way around all of this. So folks can go out and walk in the evenings when it's cool and get some laps in. So those are the facilities that we all talked about last time being here. That's how they're arranged. We've worked in a few other extra facilities that were discussed last time. And like I say, whether or not all of this stuff can ever be built in this current budget cycle, just know, just understand that it won't all be there in a couple of years from now. It'll take another budget cycle most likely to come back and finish most of this. But we're going to try to get as much as we possibly can in the first phase. Baseball and softball, facilities sort of like that. These are complexes where we do interior park work that goes in between the fields, shelters, shade areas, park-like setting with picnic tables and grass. It's not going to just be a hot sea of pavement. It's going to be a little bit of a park atmosphere in there. We're going to be doing the netting, foul ball netting to protect spectators, and netting for the backstops. At the multi-purpose fields, that's what I was talking about there. That upper left corner, that's artificial turf. We're going to be doing natural grass. But all of that is lit from all around the perimeter. So that is one big giant area of turf that can be striped off, used in all kinds of different ways. We're going to be looking at something like that. The pavilion playground area, the picture in the bottom right is pretty close to what we're going to try to shoot for. We're going to have a playground, a little bit of open lawn, picnic shelter, bathrooms. We may try to get some shade over the playground with some shade sails. So just how far we can take all that is going to be budget driven, but that's the goal, is for something like that. Other ideas on playgrounds there? There was even some discussion about having a place where kids could come and touch and play in water, shallow water, not enough to be dangerous, but a little bit of a natural water course, something like that, interactive play besides just swings, something play on the rocks and the water. That'll be a budget-driven thing. We'll probably master plan that, and that may be a phase 2, but it will be in the plan to be incorporated in the ultimate design. Several pavilions, concession buildings, restroom buildings, concession stands at the sports complexes, walking trails, the tennis and pickleball courts, basketball and sand volleyball, and of course parking and roads and infrastructure. And then for the county staff, a maintenance facility, something like that. So that's the goal of what we plan to accomplish. We were talking about schedule earlier this afternoon. By the time we draw all the engineering plans, all the things we have to do, we have to go get the building permits, all of those things. We get a contractor on board to come build the project. We expect the first phase to be opened up sometime in the spring of 2017. It takes about a year to build all of this stuff from when you first start turning the dirt. And it takes us about 6 months to get from tonight's stage, like a master plan stage, through the point where we have a set of engineering plans ready to build. It takes us about that amount of time. And so that's the goal, is to have something early 2017. Okay? With that, we'll take comments. Yes, sir?
What's behind on the multi-purpose soccer field? What's on the north side of that going out, going north? Because if you're, the way you have the soccer facility set up, that's where the ball's going to be going. So I'm just wondering what's over there that we can't get the ball back from.
Well, we're going to have 30-foot tall nets for one thing behind the goals. So yeah, we do big backstops whenever we do a multi-field complex. Yes, sir.
Will any of the basketball courts be covered, or any of the multi-purpose surfaces covered? Say if it's raining or something like this, you can go from out to underneath something?
There's not a plan for it right now, and honestly, we may get some of that in the first phase, but in the first phase of the budget, there may be one court here or there. To cover them would be a nice thing. We've seen that done. That's another bigger expense on top of it. It's not to say that way down the road, in another budget cycle, you couldn't come back and add that. It would work, but it wouldn't be in the first phase.
Do you have any printouts of that map with you?
What do y'all want to do with that? Do y'all want to? This will be online, right?
Yeah, we've got.
Yeah.
I'll go make some copies real fast. We'll have them ready for you.
Okay, this will be online.
And I'll put it online tomorrow. There's a section on our website for the sports park information and where we've been, and I'll add it to that section.
Okay,
email
yes.
that sign-up sheet.
Was any consideration given to eliminating the baseball fields altogether, seeing as how the county already has many baseball fields and it's a declining sport, unlike skateboarding, which is a upcoming sport that's more popular?
No, because there was such a high demand for baseball and request for that for this park.
I think we might have a higher demand for other sports if we provided a safe place for kids to do it.
We currently have 3 baseball fields in South Walton, so we'll be doubling our baseball capacity. Lewis, what's our numbers on youth baseball?
Baseball and softball combines 350 kids. That doesn't include any adults.
So we have over 2,000 youth skateboarders in our community, and that would have no facility in their
Well,
practice.
that's not entirely true. We've like we told you the last time, sir. We've master planned a skate park for Helen McCall. We're in the design process right now, and we're looking at funding avenues. So just because it's not in this park doesn't mean it's not going to be available. It's something that we're working on as we speak right now, which we spoke about last time. So
I'm just concerned that we're duplicating facilities that we already have without providing basic facilities that don't exist in our county.
Well, when we provide a skate park at Helen McCall Park, that will meet your needs there. But we have a more need with what comes through the county and through our Parks and Rec department for baseball, softball, lacrosse, multi-use fields, things like that. That's why, like we spoke of last time, this is not part of the master plan for this park because it's already master planned for Helen McCall. So we're working currently with the designer to get a design for a skate park and get funding avenues for that. So that's why you don't see it in this park, but it is part of a master plan for Helen McCall Park. So it will be down here, just not part of this new park.
I just don't believe you, I guess.
Well,
Because
that, I mean, that's
planned for over a decade and nothing.
well, and you're entitled to your opinion, and I appreciate your opinion. But we're going through the design process right now. If you'd like to be a part of that,
I'd love to. Yeah,
then please email us. We'll get you a part of that.
I did. I emailed you. I sent a complete master plan to these young men.
I mean, he's talking about Helen McCall.
Yeah, Helen McCall.
They talked about that today, that they are working with a designer right now on the skate park at Helen McCall.
So for you to say that you don't believe me, like I said, I can appreciate that, but we're working on
I
it.
begged him for the design. He said no. He said they're going to get somebody.
How would we be able to be involved in this planning of this other skate park? And let me ask another question is, I'm not quite sure what pickleball is, but what's like the square footage of pickleball?
It's like half a tennis court.
Okay, and volleyball, I mean, because I missed the last meeting, and before that, the skate park was like second or third on the list of things to be at this park. So I'm kind of confused how it went from second or third to none. And I understand Helen McCall, but he's correct in saying that it's been on the plan for a decade. And I was wondering if it was any way to perhaps look at this change. I mean,
For this
pickleball,
sports park, no,
volleyball,
sir. For Helen McCall
football.
Park,
Can I speak,
yes,
please?
but not for this sports
Now,
park.
we've heard that. Be
Yes.
honest, guys. This is the second public meeting that I've been to, and they've had many before that. And we've heard that, and they keep saying there's a spot for a skate park at Helen McCall, and honestly, folks aren't listening to that. They keep asking for it to be here, and they've said it's not going to happen here. They said they have other needs from other people.
That was my question.
who've been
Why is
nominated.
it not happening here? Because we had the public in here that made a list.
Well, we also took an online poll which showed that baseball, softball, football, soccer, lacrosse was our highest need here, which is what we're
Pickleball and
addressing.
volleyball.
And pickleball was on that list as well, so was volleyball. And so was the Olympic swimming pool, but we don't have that in the budget to build an Olympic swimming pool. But we do have a skate park master plan to Helen McCall. If you'd like to be a part of it, we'd be glad to have you join in with us on
I
that.
absolutely want to be a part of it because I
Sure.
would like to expedite it. Because there's, there's kids in the street. I skateboarded yesterday and I was in condo parking lots.
Sure.
And that's where we get the skateboard. So
Well, we have
as far
people
as-
fighting over baseball and softball fields as well, and football fields and multi-use fields. So we have to design this as what meets the needs of the community, not just your skate park needs. That's why we're doing that at Helen McCall.
It's
Everybody
about
feels
the
like-
kids also. It's not about me
Sure.
necessarily. It's about the children out there on the street who have nowhere to ride, and everywhere in this country have little parks where they go.
Every
who
facility
aren't
is important to the group. And I-
Team players.
We work these kind of meetings, like I said, we've got 600 some odd parks.
Right.
Every public meeting we go to, there are groups that are dedicated to one thing or another, and when they're dedicated to it, it's very important to them. What we need is some perspective that there are other folks with other needs too, and the
Well,
county they have a big responsibility. They have a lot of folks to cater to, and they have to take care of some folks at one site and some other folks at another site, which they're trying to strike that
It
balance.
just seems that they take care of some folks and not others is what ends up happening historically. And you've only been here for the 3 meetings, for many, many meetings over many years, and we continue to be pushed aside for sports that are already supported by the county.
Yeah.
That's our dilemma.
And I understand there's a need for ballparks, and I agree with that. But in the corner of this plan, there was going to be somewhere a skateboard, and now there isn't. So
We haven't been charged with
Yeah,
that.
when was that planned into this parcel of this?
when we
On the
originally,
initial proposal.
in the initial proposal, when we
On the
were
land purchase.
sat
You guys
here-
suggested that you wanted it included in there, but when we take all the numbers in there. it
When the
doesn't
idea of this
fit
park
what
came
happened
to the
in plan.
county, it was.
And
on
basically,
original.
the purpose of this meeting is to talk about this sports park. We've got a skate park master plan for Elm Park.
And that's what I want to, I'm Lou Savella, by the way, I'm the Public Information Manager. Certainly, what you guys have brought, I think the fact that it wasn't a Helen McCall, and because you've been vocal and brought it and said this, I think that's what's moving it towards going into Helen McCall. I mean, we are actively moving on. I mean, the fact that there has been the effort of you guys coming forward is exactly why it's not just completely off, we're not going to do it. That's the whole purpose of saying it was master planned here, there's a good spot for it, it's lit well, the area, so we want to move forward with it. It was just based on not just, and I respect that you said it was third on the list. It absolutely was. But that the public saying we want this was not the only thing we looked at. That was one silo. We also have our Parks and Rec saying we have this many kids already. We don't have capacity here in this. We have people that call us that say we want this. It's not just a vote that was taken online and said, because those things can be easily dominated by anybody that wants to go have people do it.
Anybody with internet access.
Right. So with all due respect, we see the need for it. We've talked about now we know there's the need for it. How do we move forward? And the answer is let's put it where it was master planned. It obviously didn't get to that point, and it's been years since Helen McCall opened, but we want to get there. And that's why, like you said, I'll be happy to, you can call it the admin, you may have my email or Rick's, get with us. We'll let you know where we are if you have ideas. I mean, this is going to be part of the Parks and Facility Plan, just not for this location. We want to put it where it was initially intended to be. But there is certainly a wider discussion than we came to this meeting where there was 30 people and it came third, or there was this. Those things are the certain silos, and you really do have to look at everything, on the whole, and that whole leads us to what's here based on what the county provides as youth recreation through team leagues, those kind of things. So to some extent, it's a different conversation, but we want to have it with you, and we want to make sure we get it where it was initially intended to go.
Well, thank you for your time and attention to it. I'm glad that you recognize the need. Please understand that we've been at this for a long, long time, and it seems as though the county's disingenuous about actually going through with that plan. So we're trying to trust you, but there's not a lot that's been offered to us, maybe until this meeting.
And I'm hoping
that we could really say, yes, they've heard us, that this is an important part of our youth athletic culture that needs to be taken care of in Walton County.
Okay.
So, absolutely. Thank you. I do appreciate your effort, but let's do it.
Yes, sir.
For the youth programs that will be using the new complex, will there be, you talked about storage, but will there be storage for, all the stuff that we have to bring for
We're
the
planning
soccer,
for
the
that.
football, the basketball,
Yes.
the baseball?
That's correct.
Yeah,
There's going to be some county storage for their stuff,
right,
but then there's a plan to put some association storage in there too.
right.
Is
Yes,
there
ma'am.
any future plans for a pool?
Not for this site.
No,
No.
not for this site, but somewhere in the county? Is there a phase 2 on this? plan?
Basically, a pool would exceed our entire budget for a sports park. Or what we got online, Olympic-sized swimming pool. So at this point, no, there is no plan for one, but that doesn't mean that there's never going to be one. It's really up to what the public wants and the citizens want. So I would say down the road in the future, especially once we get this one completed, if that's a goal of the community, bring it to the board. Let's see what we can do.
Is there more land available on that parcel?
There's not much land available in South Walton, period, that's not swamp. But no, we are pretty much using every square inch of this parcel except for the wetlands, because we cannot get into the wetlands as they're protected. And Whit's going to bring that picture up here.
Yeah.
That's
The intercoastal is not very far away. We're almost right up to the intercoastal.
Yeah, it's a 34-acre parcel. We are using every square inch available. That's why we tried to squeeze as much in.
If there was a phase 2 down the road,
When he talks about phase 2, we're talking about we're going to be able to put, let's say, 75% of what we show you in the first phase, and then we'll have to come back a couple years later when we get the funds appropriated to add, let's say, a second basketball court or additional pickleball court. So,
Who plays pickleball?
well, we had 9 people at the last meeting. I think 6 of them were pickleball people.
Well, you know, we have all filled out our email, countless meetings.
Sure.
We never get email when the next meeting is. So I don't understand why we continue to write our email down. We never get notified.
Well, we publicly notice all of our meetings, in accordance with Florida statutes. But to go through and email every single person, I mean, it's a pretty time-consuming job, especially when we publicly notice it. We advertise with the newspapers, and the news channels carry it as well.
I don't get the newspaper, and I don't watch TV here.
Well, I understand that. The best thing I would say is to get on the internet and look at our Walton County calendar. They're all listed
I
there.
gave you my email address. Why are we writing that down then?
That's a good question, Whit. Why do you have email on this for?
Yes, sir.
I know a lot of fields have signage saying, say on the baseball field, it says no soccer on the field, etc. Skateboarding, however it may be. My question is, we play a form of futsal, say like indoor soccer, kind of similar, on a hard surface. Will it be available for us to be on the basketball court playing futsal with the time available? Be able to schedule it, things like this? Or will
I think if you reserve those courts,
Yeah.
Well, these are my questions because, like sometimes there's limited space. We have a whole entire form of soccer.
That was a question. I don't
Yes,
know if y'all do
the
reservations.
way our parks are is that it's open play for anybody, unless someone reserves that field. So if you wanted to make sure from 2 to 4 on Saturday that you guys had the basketball court, you call our parks department and reserve it.
Right.
And then you can do whatever.
Sometimes at Helen McCall, we have 10 teams, and we have 2 fields, and it says no soccer on the baseball field, and they're out of season, and it's just grass.
Well, I will tell you that part of the plan for this park is to utilize that outfield of baseball field for soccer. That's what.
Awesome conversation.
And that's how
Not
we
to
need.
destroy.
And we talk about the needs of the county, but we have, the arguments, the fights going with football and soccer and baseball out there. So that's why we're trying to hit our biggest needs.
And there may be times you call and they're in a grass recovery period or something, but yeah, they were trying
No
to.
complaints at all. It's just that there's all this field space available
Absolutely.
in a whole large period of the year where we're out there all year long playing soccer.
We have specifically talked about using that for soccer. Absolutely. We want to use it if it's available.
Okay, yes, sir.
I am a longboarder, so that means that I like to skate around and different stuff like that and longer kind of things. Will there be no skateboarding on the sidewalks whatsoever? Will you guys have that signs, or will it actually be able to go ahead as long as you're really not bothering anybody?
We haven't really even covered that topic yet. I mean, I think it's going to be something that's left up to the board of county commissioners to decide what the regulations are for a sports park. That being said, I could be wrong because it's not something we've discussed yet. But
Okay.
we will start to discuss that.
How wide is that?
Sorry.
10 foot?
10-foot wide trail. Yes, ma'am?
Allow for a bike lane or a skating lane.
It's multi-use, so it would be ASHTO width for bikes and rollerblades and
Asphalt.
all that kind of stuff. Yeah, smooth. Yes, ma'am?
I think last time you talked about the look of the buildings that you would try to update to the area. I wondered if you could talk about that a little.
We've brainstormed on that a little bit today. I'm not ready to, we're not going to unveil anything. Nothing's even been drawn yet. And we've got to talk with several groups at the county to see what styles they might desire. But yeah, the idea is going to be something, unique. Probably we were talking about some of the colors, picking up some of the county colors in some ways, and doing some styles that we don't want it to be confused with any other development that's nearby. We don't want people to think, oh, there's another, another condo development going in or what have you, let's say. But we do want to capture some of the themes of this area and some of the building materials. We try to do that whenever we build a new park somewhere, whether we're in the mountains or the coastals or the swamps or what have you. Our building designs try to capture some of the local flavor, and we're going to be incorporating some of that.
Yeah. One of the suggestions I had made on that was to contact the Arts Alliance locally and also perhaps canvass on South Walton Community Council to see if we can get some local architects or designers to facilitate that. I think we've got a lot of terrific artists in the community that would love to have the opportunity to make it our own. So if you would reach out to those groups, that would be terrific.
Okay. All right. Yes.
So a couple times tonight, we talked about budget, and we certainly understand the constraints, by all means. Some of us operate 501c3 corporations, which are kind of the not-for-profits, and we have the ability to go after grants by various organizations. Would the county be interested in talking with us to maybe collectively or collaboratively look at grants that are available to do some of the extra things that you might?
I think we'd entertain any conversations with someone who's going to help try to get funding. That's our biggest problem. You know, our budget for this park it's really $6.4 million, but we would like to keep some money in reserves because you know at the end that we need this, we forgot this side, we forgot that. So that being said, I think Whit would tell you we're trying to fit a lot in with a small budget. You know, because we are a smaller county population-wise. We took out a $10 million loan to build this after we buy the property and pay for engineering and build road and this and that. That's what we're left with. So that's where it's going to be up to Whit and his guys to get us the most bang for our buck. That's why we spent 4 hours before this meeting going over different things from the type of countertops that we're looking for to possible colors for roofs and designs. And you know, when it comes to design, Whit showed us some parcels, and like he said, they try to get a flavor of the local area. So they created some sports park. I think it was up in Kentucky. He told me where they wanted to look like horse stables, and these pavilions and their amenities look sort of like horse pavilions and stalls, and it looks nice and tasteful. And I think that's what Whit's going to do for us, not horse stalls, obviously, but he's going to take this local flavor down here, the different building styles from all the different communities, and try to find a happy medium that our commission will be on here.
Yeah. In terms of the one thing, when y'all see the finished, early 2017, you come out here, you're going to see some stuff off the plan finished. You're going to see some areas that have been worked. The bulldozers have moved the earth, and you may see a road kind of going off, looks like dead ends for no reason or what have you. And there may be some head scratching going on. Why did they do that? There's some parts of a project, it's like when you're painting a room, you can't paint yourself in a corner. We have to go ahead now and move all the earth at one time because there'll never be a second chance to come back out and move the earth. Even if you don't, say, for instance, pave some tennis courts right now. We have to build that flat pad for those tennis courts now, or we'll never be able to come back in and do that a second time. So there'll be some money that has to be spent up front for things that won't be finished right now to set the table for a future phase for building those things out. And that we always have those questions from the public as it's being built. Well, heck, it looks like they cleared off and prepared a much bigger area. What happened? Well, that's because of that. We have to get the water and sewer in and run out to, there may be a cleared path going out in the woods for some reason. Well, why does that go out? That's not going out to anything. Well, that's the sewer line we had to run now because we have to have that sewer line sized for a future facility. So there's some things that go in a first phase that don't seem to make sense, but when you come back a second time around, it's already in the ground. All you do is build your building, hook onto it, and you're done. So it makes it easier to build the second piece. Yes?
One of your previous projects that would be comparable to this amount of money, the 6.4, is there something like that we could look up on your website of something that
Probably
you've
so.
done just to kind of have in my mind what the expectations would be for that amount of money?
Yeah.
Ballpark.
Okay. If you want to tell you, I can send Rick a list of things that are within this range, and if anybody wants to contact,
Contact myself or
Yeah.
Lewis administrator.
he'll feed you the links to those. Because if you go on our website, you're going to see a bunch of parks and some are mixes
and
of stuff.
I don't want to look at the $16 million.
Right, that's right.
I want to look at the ones that
Right.
we're going to have.
Yeah. Correct.
Can you tell us about any of your thoughts, plans for just environmental stewardship and use of recycled materials in the plan, or solar power for the lighting, or LED lighting to reduce consumption and lower the cost, the overall cost of the park? Is there any of that in the plan? I know they did a very good job on the park in Freeport. They actually get a check, I think $2,000 last year, that they got a rebate on the energy they produced.
We're going to be doing
Anything like that coming for here?
We're going to be doing some, are you familiar with LEED? Do you know what LEED
sure.
means?
Yeah.
Some LEED principles. In our building designs, lower use water on certain fixtures. We low flow, different things like that into fixtures. In the parking lot, the stormwater management, we do a lot of passive stormwater management. We don't necessarily do the heavily planted wetland-looking biofilters because of a maintenance concern. Park staff just can't maintain that to the level it needs to. but we do a lot of passive sand filtration to remove sediment and solids, mercury and lead and other things out of the stormwater runoff. We do a lot of those kinds of things. LED lighting, there's a complex we're familiar with up in our neck of the woods where they lit the ball fields using it's a brand new LED system. Those costs were over 7 or 8 times the expense of putting in a standardized system. The capital investment, say for instance for one field for a baseball complex, may cost a little over $100,000 using a standard system. To do the new LED, and don't quote me, but it's above $500,000 for the same thing. So it
What about the power part of it? Any plans for solar power? Or?
Solar power.
Can I speak to that real fast? You mentioned Freeport.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware, but they basically run a refrigerator off the solar panels at a Freeport Park. It's not enough power to power their lights. They had to individually meter every ball field. So using their example, we don't think that's something that we want to spend our budgeted money on to run a refrigerator or something small, because it's not running the electrical lights like they were hoping it would.
To light that much area, it takes a lot of energy.
I'm just asking you, are there any plans to use renewable, recyclable materials, low impact or LED lightings as well? What are your ideas on making our park more
LEDs?
Current times?
There are sometimes we do LEDs in some other areas like passive lighting around a building. We have done that before. The big scale stuff, the big high impact lights, the capital cost is enormous, and the return on investment over a long period of time is slow to drain in. So sometimes you may see that from place to place, but we don't really get into that.
We looked at LED lights. That's something that we really want to put in the park. They last for 30, 40 years.
Yeah, you don't have to replace them.
The cost to install it, though, it would eat up a good half of our budget just for sports lights.
Well, those prices have been pretty significant drops really in the past year.
We got quoted about 3 weeks ago. That was pretty
Yeah.
important.
I've put in systems like that.
And maybe still on that, several facilities around the park where people can refill their own water bottles to try to encourage.
Yeah, we have done
do
that. We've done water fillers on a drinking fountain with a water
Right now,
filler.
there's not a fountain even at the soccer field,
Yeah.
right? And you have to go all the way over to the baseball complex where soccer's not allowed in order to.
Yeah, that's something we could. That's pretty easy to do.
We can do better than that.
We have utilized wireless technology when it comes to our lights and our sprinklers so that we can turn them off when they're supposed to be turned off, control the sprinklers so we don't have lights stay on until 2 in the morning because we had an employee that got sick and needs them shut down. So we're looking at some cost saving ideas with that.
We're looking at potential. We've got to work it out, but use of reuse water for irrigation rather than potable. There's some things to be worked out, but we're trying to do that too. Yes, ma'am.
Does the school board already own that land in front of it? And what's the schedule on that, the use of that land that they do?
I'm sorry, repeat it.
Does the school board already own that land?
They do. They own the parcel in front of our parcel.
How large is that parcel?
I believe it's 38.
Yeah, right around 38 to 48.
It's just a little bit bigger than our parcel.
And do you know what the schedule is for putting that high school in?
I cannot speak for the schools, no ma'am. I know that the last time they talked that they're trying to move their design process up, but that's the last I heard about it. And I'd like to talk a little bit about security just before we get on it. This part, Whit, will you talk about the fencing, and then I'll talk about maybe some of the extra security stuff.
Okay. We can't, when we have a park site this big, we can't fence the whole shooting match, and we don't want to do that. There needs to be opportunities for folks to come out and use passive facilities when something organized is not happening. But for the ball fields themselves, we will probably do a perimeter fence around ball, and we will do perimeter fence around all of the soccer so that people can still walk through a man gate and go out and use it when they want, but so that we don't wind up with joyriders out there tearing things up just for the fun of it. During the evening, after a certain period, was it 10 p.m. usually, y'all's? Okay. There'll be vehicle gates at the entrance that will be shut down. I guess county staff come through and patrol time to time looking at that. We try to build in some passive policing into these things for safety's sake. There's a philosophy out there called CPTED, and it means crime prevention through environmental design. So when we do the bathroom at the playground, We do it such that the doors to the bathroom face the parking lot and the roads, and also parents at the playground can look and see the bathroom doors to the bathroom at the same time, so that if they need to send an older child to the restroom, they don't have to get up and leave the little one, and they can still keep an eye on the door. We try to keep those sight lines clear. We try to set up the bathroom when it faces the parking lot so that a loiterer cannot be there after hours without being seen. We talked about today, if someone's in the bathroom facilities, they don't realize it, but there is a motion sensor that kicks on and turns on a light on the outside of the building, so that someone driving through after hours, a sheriff, somebody driving through, if he sees that light on the outside of the building, he knows that someone's there. So we try to incorporate lots of little passive policing things. And one thing that helps a lot with that is the walking trail.
And additionally, on the walking trail, some spots where it's not right on the field, we're going to put some bower lighting, some sort of LED lighting to illuminate that path. Additionally, our plans are to have security cameras on that park to protect the residents, people that are using the park, and to protect our asset there after hours and before hours. As you know, we get quite a few people go to Helen McCall Field, do donuts on our field. So we're trying to stop that, but we intend to protect the citizens of Walton County while they're up at this park. That's why WIT, using their passive designs, really takes some of our liability out. We talked about facing doors so the parents can see it. Lights on the outside of buildings, so we know if a kid is not, got passed out unconscious in the bathroom. We know there's somebody in there. So these little things all add up to what we hope is going to be a very safe park.
We try to have it's funny how having a walking loop or some other activity out there, the sports stuff's the sports stuff, and it's going to be heavily used when it is, and then when there's not an organized event, it'll be less used. But by having a walking trail that people come out during lunch or in the evenings or early in the morning to walk, it means we have lots of pairs of eyes on our park all the time. Having a facility there at the park that's used more regularly means it's not an isolated by itself piece of property. There's somebody out there keeping an eye on things with a cell phone that'll pick up and call somebody in this room, I'm sure, and tell them that something funny's going on here. And that we try to incorporate those kinds of things that attract people all the time.
On that path, we talked before about the possibility of a disc golf course along that same path. It's a relatively inexpensive thing to put in. In fact, I know in the community we could get the resources to provide the actual equipment for that. Did you put any more thought to the possibility of disc golf along that walking path?
Haven't included it, but we could. That'd be an easy change.
Pretty minor.
Any idea how much that cost at free?
I was hoping you were going to tell me.
No, I don't know what the cost was.
Yeah, and I can tell
But
you,
it's probably cheap.
we haven't planned it, but we have discussed it internally, that's something that can be built along the path. It is certainly fairly inexpensive in comparison to building giant fields and that kind of thing. So we are aware of it. I personally enjoyed it. I'm from Augusta, and that's where the World Championships are held, so I'm familiar with disc golf.
Well, I know we can fund it. Similar to even the skate park, we are eligible for Tony Hawk Foundation grant. I spoke with Steve Hawk, and he looked at our situation, our economic situation, because it's a need-based, but Walton County qualifies.
I can tell you for disc golf, you won't get you're not going to get a full course on the length we've got. It's just not big enough. But we can do a few
better
holes.
than nothing.
Right.
We need an executive 9-hole, but we have discussed it, so yes, it is something we talked about.
Okay, yes, sir.
With the fencing and things like that, do we have any insight to wildlife interaction and whatnot, things of that nature? I mean, with all of the area there, is there any?
There's going to be perimeter fence, around, especially on the backside where wildlife may come. There's an industrial park to the east of us. There's definitely wildlife out there. That's why we have these fences, especially around the baseball park where kids are going to be, around the soccer field, the multi-use fields. That's something that we're going to have to deal with as we come to it. But that's why we want to have cameras out there, because if we do get a report of bears, let's just say, we can pull that footage up, get wildlife involved, and try to catch those. But we want to be sure that we have the security there to capture that. And we're going to rely on you guys as the citizens to say if there is a problem out there. But fencing is our main charge.
Yeah, that was my question. Just with the fencing, was that an insight that was looked into?
I don't necessarily know that that's the reason for the fencing, but it'll serve a common purpose.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate the efforts that y'all have gone to try to accommodate all the different sports, and appreciate that. You mentioned that there's different phases and that the exact number of fields and things might change as time goes on. Will the public be invited to provide input if those numbers?
Well,
Because as I
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to provide input if that number has to change.
Everything that we do from this point forward will go through a board meeting, so you can feel free to watch them online or to attend. But that's where all of our the decision making will go from this point forward. So when we come back and it says, here's your master plan, here's what it's going to cost, it'll be in a board meeting that we say, okay, well, we need to eliminate a baseball field, or not eliminate, but make it phase 2 until we get that budget funding. But it'll all be in a public meeting, so you're more than welcome to put your input in.
Right now, the goal is when we do bring something, the whole master plan's got, like we talked about, a little tot lot playground at the baseball fields. Would that be a secondary supporting use to the baseball fields? Let's say, for instance, baseball, we're looking at baseball, we've got to cut something. Well, it makes more sense to cut that because there's still a little spot for it, and we can come back and do that later versus eliminate the whole field. That makes it more difficult to come back and do it later. It's the icing on the cake little bits that will probably be the things that we look at optioning on whether they're in this phase or not the big stuff that we got to get done first.
It would be more, for example, pickleball courts. You can play pickleball courts on tennis courts. So that would be something, if we can't get in the budget, that would need to be a phase 2 or a phase 3. I can tell you that our goal is to hit what our largest needs are with organized sports. And, like you said, I would think it would be safe to say that we would have all 3 multi-use fields there. Whether or not we have all 3 baseball fields, we're not sure. Because there's a price tag per baseball field. A price tag per basketball court.
We might be able to light 2 instead of light 3 or something, and run the conduit for future light poles for that third field later. Something like that.
Is there a possibility to hit the budget with 100%?
On everything you see on the plan? No.
No.
But that's the point.
Already ran the numbers?
Yes. But that's the point is, we talked about in the last meeting, when you master plan something, you're master planning the entire use of the whole property. I'll give you an example. Waycross, Georgia, we've done a complex. We drew a master plan in 1998. And every 4 years, they get another $3 million off of a funding cycle, and they go back out and they build another $3 million little piece of the master plan. And they've done that 5 times. So they've got $15 million worth of development in this park that they're still building off that original master plan. They're still tacking stuff onto it. So people who came to that public meeting 15 years ago saw a big plan of a lot of green and blue and parking and all this stuff and said, wow, we're going to get all that stuff. And we said, yeah, eventually. But then what they saw was a phased in implementation of that over a longer period. Yes, he's had his hand up, yes.
I was actually wondering, say that one of the baseball fields does have to go into phase 2 or something like that. Now, if you do see that, will you guys be watching to see if there are maybe just 2, if they're both being used and different things like that, and if the third one really needs to be made, or if there's something else that would be put there better?
Absolutely. I mean, we evaluate our parks needs and as a county on a yearly basis. So as sports change and times evolve, that may very well be the case. Same thing with football, soccer, any of these sports. And to your point, if we built 2 baseball fields and we saw that there was only 50 kids left, and all of Walton County want to play baseball, then no, we would say, commissioners, what would you like to see here now? We've added a master plan for baseball fields, we don't need it, and we put some sort of a pool or a water feature, something in there.
On that about the phases, will there be consideration in what goes into each phase based on the need of the community? Say there's no dedicated soccer fields at the moment, so and that's the cheapest and easiest to put in. Could the soccer multi-purpose fields go in first and then the baseball's built?
Oh, absolutely.
Would there be some consideration?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I will say with the multi-use, just to give a little background about the county, down here in South Walton, we have 1 lit multi-use field. That's it. Everything else, we have additional fields, they're not lit. Baseball, we have 3 lit fields, and then we have a non-lit t-ball field. So truly the greatest need is those multi-use fields for soccer, both youth and adult, because there's a pretty big adult contingent. And I'm sure some of you are aware of the alternative sports.
Yeah, I run the field for ultimate frisbee.
Yeah, same kind of thing. And lacrosse is going to be here in a couple of years, pretty full force. So I think talking to what's out there and the fact that those fields can be used so much, that's the number 1 thing on the list. And I think Rick was probably right, and the commission will look at it certainly from our standpoint. Those fields present the biggest need and most solution to what the needs are.
And on that, there might be other ways to accommodate even sports like skating in this, because you can build stable surfaces and benches, and maybe a little bit of thought going into the transitions within the park could make that a more pleasant and safe place for kids to skate in the meantime while we're trying to build a real facility for them. So, still like to be involved in some of those sort of design aspects.
And a lot of stuff that's safety skateboard design is safety design for regular parking.
ADA
So
safety as well, yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, all right. If you didn't say it, please write it down, and we'll take that input too.
We obviously appreciate everybody attending, your input. We have a lot of needs in this county. We know that as it grows, it's going to continue to get bigger, get larger. So we'll probably be back here again in a couple of years trying to design another one. But we want to thank Los Associates for the work they've done. They've been excellent so far. We want to thank you guys for attending. If you have any questions, please feel free to email myself or Louis Vela. You can go to www.co.walton.fl.us and find both of our email addresses right there under administration. So please feel free to email us with your questions or concerns, and we appreciate your time and hope everyone has a great night. Thank you.
Where's that blue? Where's the blue cord? He's from okay, thanks. Yeah, all right. That's it.
Is there any interest in skating? Any interest in skateboarding?
I'm sure there's Tony Hawk Foundation's at 50,000 tops. Maybe 50. And there's some stipulations about how you have to use it. Any of these grants come with strings attached. Sometimes you don't want the $10,000 some group will bring. You don't want all the stipulations. Like Maine Water Conservation Fund, the little bit of grant you'll get to help buy property to build a park comes with all these. If you ever want to build anything else out here, you got to get approval, And if the county 50 years from now wants to carve off a little chunk on the corner and build a library or a fire station or whatever, you violated your terms, and now you are blacklisted from ever receiving any future grants like that.
So that point may not be a bad idea.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Appreciate the comments. For sure.
We'll just look online. I think the pictures they saw online. I think it's distances are surprisingly longer than you think. So distances are sometimes surprisingly longer than you think down here.
Who do we ball here on out? Who do we keep up with?
When someone said, so I'm familiar with what we do. John and his skateboard. So we it's all fun. But here's the they're getting yeah.
I would say, okay, we're gonna have this building, we know we're gonna have a couple of people there's gonna be some.
Have you ever gone in, do you have any kind of noise type of thing saying, hey, why don't we post something on the side or something like that? Why don't we actually look architects or come in and have a meeting of that and see what their ideas are instead?
Just for getting rid of
What I tried to do on that whole was put just that architecture company. I can tell you, this is, we have hired an architect. We're paying them to design, so they're gonna design also. These kind of people, we're talking to, we would love to have the artists more involved. So when we get these bids, I'm gonna do stuff like.
So that's what.
I think we're gonna do
The goals for our skate park. Because we could be using slow money.
They've done a lot of fundraising.
They give it to the public, and then you end up with a job that you're really good.
That's just like, it's like when you first.
I don't know who just finding out ridiculous ones are out there, but sometimes
For Helen McCall. This Helen McCall park. This is Gus. That's cool. I was all for the kids getting involved. So that's just. I'm moving forward. A place for the kids to rush. But our question is, you say everything's moving forward. Like moving to find moving forward. Is this like when this one's done, then we're going to be moving towards that one? Now, if we want to be involved in this, online to do this. Now, you already have all the information. Yeah, you have everything you need basically to do it, I think, at this point, because he's been incredible with the information. I see something from this.
Let me get the work on that.
I mean, that's
there's like 5-year-olds in there, like doing crazy stuff.
I'll show you real quick. This is.
And you got the public.
Yeah, maybe there's a fundraiser for the private citizen. the space is available for the park. Then we can go.
I mean, that's what I need. I need something to look at and go, what's up the road. Because I pretty much already knew, well, this meeting.
Your email's on different lists. I'll find those emails, your contact as well. And I will do that.
Because I was.
Laurel Springs.
I just need something to move forward with. Because I will do whatever it takes, but I don't
There have it, but if it gets to be before we start looking at it, there's another thing to say that maybe it's
Because then we should have people that need to come in and be like, hey, this is what our needs are.
What was the project?
I've been asking for people would be willing to sell them whatever space.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, we'll help Russ for sure.
I agree, that's the first step, is to see if we can get that dedicated space.
And I've been recommending this part that you're talking about.
Let's say where we are.
As it should.
I agree. However, I wish the state didn't have to. I wish the locals had control of the city sports.
What's the sales tax?
The park and economic development. With the hard to use this type of park for the same reason that other seasons because as I was
We're talking about other laws.
Yeah, two,
So we don't have
potentially,
economic interest.
yeah. Yeah, and I think we have to look at that. I think the big problem is what's going on with
We should never have asked for
we
things.
also have to apply for these things in the state first. Our biggest issue, I think we have a lot of restrictions on this ready for growth. We had to have a small. This is because I can guarantee you, soon they're doing right now, the two biggest fights without a doubt, from an economic development standpoint, the two biggest things economic development wise in this kind of town. One, families, they're placed on so we're looking, that's another thing we're doing, is working on putting fiber.
I got like that. I got like the video. I got the costumes. Well, are there gonna be, like, are there gonna be like seating?
Yeah, some raised.
Like covered seating, cause I'm thinking, you know.
Those
But I mean, that's the one thing why.
You're talking about multi-million-dollar projects, whereas I think it's actually easier to get a $40,000 funding
I agree.
than it is to get a multi-million-dollar
I
project.
agree, and I see from years now, I completely agree, but I also have this group saying, how dare you put that in when our houses were flooded, how dare you?
That's why you have to pull out of that category.
Yeah, so I think we should get trying to let me work on this step one first. See if we can get something that says, this is where we're going to go, this is the spot. I think that's a very.
So what do you guys do when you come down here? Are you work up in Nashville or you're in? It's a lot in Nashville.
Or you work with the offices to try to help them. I'm telling you, we can use some of that money to help.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's where we go every time. Yeah,
yeah, the bad thing is the got off pretty much. And I think the county is.
Stayed at the Water Street.
Because it goes over the state. Initially, it was supposed to be
What?
we're not going to be controlling something. There's less money on the
Like 2 doors down is called Up the Creek Cafe.
So we need our space.
Yeah, that's right.
We need an official proclamation that that space is available so that I can use that on grant applications, say we have, the county has already deeded this
Hit the
space.
street, so to speak, once we know that there's actually something.
But I'm not gonna start collecting people's money when it's a pie in the sky. It's not right.
So now who's designing
conversations I had with discussion on that, it's not. So this is the first way we can try to show you. It's honest discussion. I am more than happy to be able to. I want to be a part of it. Yeah, let me do this. I'll be in touch with you guys. It probably won't happen by Tuesdays. You know,
No, come on.
So,
All right.
and keep in touch with me, you know, I'll let you know where we are. Like I said, we should.
She gave me that.
Yeah, she's the man.
So who's the group doing all of the fall parts then, if it's not these gentlemen?
Well, it's, right now what we're looking at is we have a gentleman who's an architect.
So-
who has a
It lives
son.
here.
I was suggesting you contact the Cultural Arts Alliance. You haven't had any contact with them yet, or no? Okay.
They
That
support,
would be
he
a group
supports the son of the
that
state.
understands
Right
the
now, we're
aesthetics
talking
of
to him.
the area
While
and
he's
has, you know,
a
a
designer
quick
that's
list
done
of
some
artists that
work
would show up if you asked them to come in and
Now,
say,
here's what
we
he's
plan,
not technically
what
designed
would you,
sports park, but
add
he's very
to
advanced.
this,
That's
what
where we
tone,
need
what
to
color,
show
and what
some-
materials,
He's
and what
looking at doing
texture.
the design for
those folks would be all of
So we try and
helpful.
say the same.
And then, because no matter what's going to happen, people are going to complain, right? And I think at that juncture, you
Absolutely.
have a good spot to say, this is consulted with your highest authority on arts and culture.
And I think
Right.
My wife lives.
I want a swimming
Why not?
pool.
They're gonna be.
That's a weak argument. You're an architect, and you think you can't build a lasting structure that's beautiful?
I think have to be.
Oh, you're not an architect, did I miss that? You are?
Yeah.
And let me tell
You
you.
didn't mean to say that. I'll let you have a redo.
No,
I didn't. Absolutely.
private.
Yeah.
It's
These things have to
golf courses that have. They make a ton of money out of their stuff.
Concrete.
Every pool loses
Un-
money.
How did they
Unwell
get on the
intentioned.
street? How did they
They
get
have
started?
travel.
And
Yeah.
people,
They rent their
12
fields
o'clock
now,
at midnight, they're going
30 months, 30 weeks out of the year, 40 weeks out of the year, to travel soccer,
To
travel.
build with their
We're
own
not doing
materials.
that. Because the public safety needs to be for our
We
kids,
say-
not used up all the time.
we say there's earlier, there's been some body stuff that we could
And it's not even,
is built.
it's not even a aquatic center.
Almost
It's just a school
bunkers.
that they have there, and it's, they lose.
Okay, well, I still think those
Because they
things
don't have
would
the
be
other means of
accommodated
funds, they're not getting travel.
with some design. And the thing
I'm
is,
sure
on the
they love
sidelines
that
and that,
stuff.
you go to a place like
Because they have some facilities.
Powell Street or Rosemary, and somebody paid very particular attention to replacements of the
That's why they
streets
shut down
and things like
the
that.
Aston Martin's
A couple of those
Yeah,
people
and if you talk
probably
to
could be helped out, sure, making choices,
if you look at their jobs,
especially these places.
they're close to the show.
I don't think that would be
Let
better.
me come over
That would
there
be
as
the
well.
closest
For
thing.
me, I don't pay.
Talk to folks.
I know, the thing is,
They don't
Never
want
did it again.
well, you can go down there, you know, the San Francisco Golf League and whatever club, or
It's right here.
the West End of the county, North End of the road, Emerald something.
Emerald
golf-
Bag, so you
there's a
never
golf
bag.
course down there. They've got a great pool, if you wanna pay $800 a month to be a member of the.
We're working with staff on these things, but you also, it's hard to reach consensus.
Or maybe you think it's Kelly. No.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the
But
thing,
it's
is you
also
can't,
easy
what the
to
problem
make
is, you
mistakes
can't
when
get
you
a pool
don't take it
membership.
up.
You have to get the
Right.
country club.
There's
Well, yeah,
every-
I mean, if you're
The price is
going to
down.
a country club, you don't pay.
And I understand.
Yeah, you're not just.
There's great resources in our community, and
I
it's
think
making
it
you
would be
ideas
much easier
to reach out to them and get them
to
involved.
other members of the public, get board and kind of stuff, to build something that
Seems to be happening on closed doors and rather than have an open view of
That's
the
the
public
biggest
and their
issue. Cool, it's never lose it. You don't make money on
which
it.
people really want to help.
Oh,
Folks that tell us what to do. So,
All right, appreciate you
Thank
guys.
you. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. I'll be in touch with you.
All right.
Thanks.
So,
Thanks for my dad.
will you please contact me when you get into the benches and structures, certainly about the disc golf and stuff like that, that I could help you in design
permission to folks that tell us what to do.
So you don't have permission to talk to us?
Well, they may not want to involve a committee of many. They may not want to do that. They want those ideas because they, you know,
I think I understand what's happening.
it's hard to please.
Hard, so I have your email address?
Yeah, wow.
Grassroots.
I'll be in touch with you guys on this.
All right, good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. No, I think one of the big issues is they want to, I think they want to know, A, are they going to let skateboards in this park on the walkways?
Yeah, it feels so.
And that's what yeah, I know. Well, he's talking about like building concrete benches instead of
You know, I
get it chipped and cracked.
I don't want you to deal with that guy unless Commissioner sends. Cindy said that. I don't know what she thought about doing it tonight, and she was about to go to the deal like this.
I did talk to him, and I do
You don't
that.
deal with this anywhere else, do you?
never forget.